How y'all beautiful people doing today? It's your boy Drake, man. We back for another video. In this video, I'm gonna talk about something that's a little bit different for me to talk about. I usually don't talk about it a lot on this channel, and that's my thoughts on race, my feelings on race, my experience with race. I think I have a unique story. I'm not your conventional young black man or whatever you might think of as a conventional young black man. I have a unique story. Maybe some of y'all might relate, and many of y'all might learn something. Many of y'all might not like what I gotta say. It's whatever. Y'all take away whatever you want to take from this. This is my story. Here it is, man. For me, I grew up in Atlanta, Georgia. Atlanta, Georgia is a predominantly black city. All around me it was black. Black culture, black food, black people, black love, black all types of stuff, man. Um, some of it was empowering because you realized that just because you were black didn't mean that you had to be held down. Didn't mean that you couldn't reach positions of power and find success. I saw black millionaires. I saw black elected officials. I saw black doctors, lawyers, preachers, teachers, all types of stuff. Just because you were black didn't mean you couldn't be successful. But what I also associated with black, being in Atlanta and being the great, amazing city that it is, but also the rough city that it is, I saw some things. I saw some things. We grew up in a working class neighborhood. Not the best neighborhood, not the worst. Working class, like lower middle. And what you saw was some tough things sometimes, man. You saw some drugs, you saw some crime, you saw some violence. I saw a few guns being pulled. School had to be locked down on more than one occasion. That's how it was. That's how it was. And growing up exposed to that type of stuff, man, you start to relate it to being black, right? Because what the media tells you and what America teaches you is that black people are the ones who are dangerous. We're the ones who are committing the crimes. We're the ones who's murdering, raping, robbing, stealing, all types of stuff. On the news, you see black people being prosecuted for these crimes. You see black criminals. You see black murderers. You see black burglars. You see all types of stuff, especially in Atlanta. It's a black city. So for me, I started to associate everything that was wrong with my neighborhood, everything that was wrong with my circumstances, with being black. Right? Because again, the media in America, they subconsciously teach you that's what being black is about. And I'm growing up in like the 2000s, it was still, a little bit before Obama and immediately after, there's a lot of racism still lingering around. And to this day. And that was hard for me to overcome, man. It became kind of like a self-hating type of thing. Subconsciously. Not that I hated myself, but that I hated that part of my identity. I didn't like it. I didn't appreciate it. And that was hard for me to overcome. So what I did was I ran. I ran from Atlanta. I ran from everything that was associated with that, including the blackness, and I went to boarding school. That was my goal. I wanted to get away from everything that was associated with them circumstances so I could find something better for myself. I wanted to be successful. Because I never considered myself black first. I considered myself Drake first. And to this day I do. I wanted to do what was best for Drake. So I took myself and I went to boarding school. Went all the way from Atlanta. I was always a gifted kid. Or at least they called me gifted. I aced my classes. Used to get bored, getting in some fights. Blah, blah, blah. That was my story. Used to goof off a lot. Get kicked out of class. Because that's just, that's how it was in public school. But, I always got good grades. I was always kind of the head of the pack, if you will. And that was good enough for me to go on a full scholarship to a boarding school. So I went from Atlanta, went to Massachusetts, all the way up there to a prestigious boarding school. This is an elite boarding school, man. You got the beautiful campus, 600 acres, lovely, beautiful place of diversity, culture, but a lot of wealth and a lot of privilege. A whole bunch of privilege, man. I saw some of the richest kids I've ever seen in my life at this school. I mean, kids who tuition $65,000, they're just dropping it like that, like it's a drop in the bucket. It was crazy for me, man. It was crazy to see stuff like that. Because my parents didn't even make $65,000 in a year. Barely keeping the roof over our heads and paying the bills and, staying afloat. And these people are just dropping 65K like that. That blew my mind. And once I got there, I started to realize you can't run from your identity. You can't run from your past. You can't just package it away and just stuff it away. And it made me realize that some of the things that I blamed subconsciously, just the fact that maybe there was something wrong with the black community. No, maybe there was something wrong with the system. I didn't fully understand that until I had to leave that situation and get a fresh perspective. There was something wrong with the system. They were good people, man. Most people don't start selling drugs and committing crimes because they just like to do it. That's what they were raised in. That's the only option for them. Kids don't come out the womb dreaming of becoming drug dealers. They come out dreaming of becoming doctors, lawyers, astronauts, politicians. But they can't because that's not what the system allows them to do. They go to failing schools with underpaid teachers and underpaid services. They live in lives of crime and violence and hopelessness because that's what the system gave them. That's what the system gave them. They gave them a set of failing circumstances. They've set them back in the race and told them catch up. Problem is, everybody's already ahead. What are they supposed to do? And that gave me fresh perspective, man. I started to appreciate that part of my identity like I never had before. I started to realize that maybe being black wasn't something that I had to stuff away. But with that came the acknowledgement that I was young and black and a man. If I was going to accept that part of my identity, I had to accept everything that came with it, the way America would treat me. Now that I was getting older and I was in, 14, 15 years old, I was starting to get taller. I'm not a short dude. I'm starting to get bigger. I'm not that small. And I'm black and I'm a man. So sometimes when I was walking down in my neighborhood back home from school and a cop car rolled past me and stopped, I was simply walking, minding my business, had a soda in my hand. And that cop car stopped right by me and was like, "Where you going? What you doing at this time of night?" It was evening time, man. Street lights had just come on. They were like, "What you doing? What you doing? What you doing?" Badgering me about where I was going. And I'd already gotten the talk. I knew how to be respectful with the police, and they drove off. I ain't tell too many people about that, man, because that was one of the scariest experiences of my life. You never know how to act in that situation. You never know what's going to set them off, because I'm a young black male. In some people's eyes, that automatically makes me an enemy. Other times in convenience stores, I've been told to empty my pockets because they thought I'd stolen something. Or if I was in a really fancy store, they follow me around, one of their little associates, making sure that I was up to no good because I'm a young black male. That's the perception of you in some people's eyes. So accepting that part of your identity comes accepting that in some people's eyes, I will always be the enemy. But also accepting the good, accepting the beautiful culture, the beautiful food, the beautiful everything that blackness gives you. Out of the oppression, black people have created some of the most amazing forms of art and music and culture and just a community that I honestly haven't found anywhere else. And once I accepted that part of myself, man, I felt like I was whole. I started to love myself once I accepted my blackness and found it as a tool for excellence and not just holding me back, mired in all the ills that I had to grow up in. So, hope that gives you some fresh perspective, man. You can't run away from your identity. Whatever it is, regardless of if it's race, if it's your class, if it's your gender, if it's your sexual orientation, if it's whatever, you can't run from it. Don't stuff it away. Don't try to hide. Bring it out to the light. Bring it out to the light. Because you'll feel so much better for it in the long run once you accept it. And you realize that there's always something beautiful about accepting the true version of yourself. By being the best version of yourself and the most authentic version of yourself that you can be. There's something beautiful about the life that becomes. Something really beautiful about it. All people are beautiful. All strokes of humanity are beautiful. It's just a matter of if you're willing to accept it, if you're willing to be yourself in the purest form. That's the way I view things, man. And hopefully after this video, y'all might start thinking the same way. So, enjoy life in the quarantine, dog. Y'all stay safe out there. Peace.
Chillin' with the boys, yeah, we making all this noise. Can't complain, riding in the fast lane. To the top, we don't stop up till past 5 o'clock.